Tag team wrestling is enjoying something of a renaissance in WWE at present. The company is awash with great duos, and then there's the Ascension, who regularly contest show-stealing matches on both brands. The bar might have raised it, but plenty of others match it. It's a great time to be alive if you like your wrestling times too. Ironically, just about the only team not benefiting from this revival is the Revival, but they're still in a better position than they would have been a few years back, where tag teams were effectively jobbers in matching tights. A division that once boasted main event attractions to rival the top single stars had gradually devolved into an inconvenient afterthought, the champions only becoming briefly relevant when Triple H or one of his cronies needed a couple of mooks to slaughter. Thankfully, things are changing for the better, and quality and quantity are returning to the ranks of the power pairs. When the belts were in the doldrums, neither of these things were on display. The likes of Demolition soon gave way to the Dicks, and consequently dozens of other unworthy duos have held WWE's tag belts over the years. From past their prime veterans who should have been flung in the reduced to clear bin long ago to gigolos and even a middle school kid, I miss you Nicholas, these are the bottom of the barrel. My name is Simon from WhatCulture, and yes, this is the 10 worst WWE Tag Team Champions of all time. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10, Juice and Domino. Wearing plain white tees, black trousers, and more hair product than Grease's entire male cast, Juice and Domino were a heavily gimmicked act that would have floundered in a different era, but prospered through a lack of competition in 2007. Juice, Domino, and manager Cherry struggled to get over with the crowd, and their cheesy act barely drew a reaction whenever they emerged. But that didn't stop WWE from pushing them. The pair ended Paul London and Brian Kendrick's record-breaking 331 day as WWE Tag Team Champions on an April 2000 episode of SmackDown, and they held the gold for over 4 months. They didn't really do much though, and clunky matches against thrown together teams like Eugene and Shannon Moore and a bizarre Jimmy Snooker and Sergeant Slaughter combination dragged the division down. Juice and Domino are saved by the fact they were a legit tag team and not just two randomly paired singles wrestlers. They weren't exactly great between the ropes, and they never got over, and they only lasted a year on television. They split in June 2008, with Domino and Cherry given their marching orders a few months later, and then Juice followed them out the company the next year. Number 9, Braun Strowman and Nicholas Cone. Bit divisive this one. The 10-year-old kid Braun Strowman picked out of the crowd to help him take the Raw's tag team straps at WrestleMania 34 didn't actually lay hands on his double-sized opponents, instead cowering the corner and quickly scarpering the one time he was tagged into the match. So the lad Nicholas was only a champion name, if not execution, as the beneficiary of a glorified handicap match. But he is still a 10-year-old kid. Ignoring the context, the name Nicholas Cone will always be present on WWE's list of tag team title holders, and in every case it will be followed by who? And trust me, that context will be ignored for the rest of eternity as Cone enters WWE folklore as their pint-sized proxy for David Arquette. And who knows, if he'd ever actually locked up with a foe, he may have been Dean Malenko re-embodied. But he didn't, so let's just assume he was bad. Because we're assholes. Number 8, Kenzo Suzuki and Rene Dupree. Former New Japan trainee Kenzo Suzuki had an odd WWE run. Signed in 2004, he was initially set to debut as a generic foreign heel with a textbook anti-American view, but these plans were scrapped prior to his first appearance, and WWE opted to send Suzuki and his wife Hiroko in the opposite direction. The duo became a goofy pro-USA act, with Kenzo decked out in the red, white, and blue as he ran through a series of soul-destroyingly bad renditions of popular American songs. The writers quickly ran out of ideas though, resulting in them pairing Suzuki alongside their equally lost Rene Dupree in the hope they gain traction as a tag team. Because that always works. At the height of WWE's obsession with half-baked, hastily assembled duos, Kenzo and Rene became tag team champions in September 2004, defeating Billy Kidman and Paul London for the titles. They held the belts for 3 months, but their reign dragged the division deep into the muck. This was primarily down to their greenness between the ropes, as both were way out of their depth in such a role, and they never clicked in front of the crowd, or for that matter, each other. Few tears were shed when they eventually split that December. Number 7, Ric Flair and Roddy Piper. They're two of the most iconic heels in wrestling history, and had Roddy Piper and Ric Flair become WWE Tag Team Champs at the height of their respective powers, there's a great chance they could have embarked on a long, successful run. The fact they spent most of the 80s working for different promotions prevented this from happening, but the Hot Rod and the Nature Boy eventually came together in the WWE in 2006. At the ages of 57 and 52 respectively, Flair and Piper defeated the Spirit Squad to become World Tag Team Champions champions in a Cyber Sunday 2006 brawl that made for a fun nostalgia pop, but did little to expel the misery that had crippled the division throughout their predecessor's lengthy reign. Also, the duo completely embarrassed the cheerleaders, showcasing WWE's complete disregard for the division and apparently their future. It was a short reign as Flair and Piper dropped the belts to Rated RKO 8 days later, but neither should have been anywhere near WWE Gold at that stage in their careers. Sadly, it's just one of a dozen occasions when this company have used their past to screw their present. Number 6. Rico and Rikishi. A real odd couple pairing, Rico and Rikishi came together in May 2002, shortly after Rico had teamed with his World Tag Team Champion buddies Billy and Chuck to defeat Al Snow Maven and, of course, Rikishi. This was Rico's first match in the WWE ring and gold soon followed. The flamboyant stylist was forced to team with Rikishi against Billy and Chuck at Judgment Day, and lo and behold, they left with the belts. Rico tried to assist his allies by attacking his new partner, but the big man fought all three off, eventually pinning Chuck to capture the belts. It was entirely counterproductive. Once one of WWE's most popular upper mid-card acts, Rikishi's overness evaporated the moment he was unveiled as the man who ran Stone Cold over, because he did it for The Rock, and his face turned bombed. It came just as Billy and Chuck were gaining heat and traction in the Tag Team Division 2, and while they successfully regained the titles 2 weeks later, this loss was a needless road bump. Rico inevitably turned on Rikishi once more, allowing Billy and Chuck to defeat him, but was split from the duo after being sent to Raw 3 months later. Number 5. The Rock and The Undertaker. The idea of The Rock and Undertaker holding the WWE Tag Team Championships together sounds awesome. They aren't just among the Attitude Era's biggest stars, but two of the most iconic figures the business has ever produced, period. Unfortunately, their reign wasn't born through smart, logical storytelling. Instead, WWE wanted to add extra juice to their escalating singles rivalry. Rock and Taker despised each other, so the thought of them coexisting as a unit was ridiculous, and WWE made matters worse by not only handing them the tag titles, but by having them topple the promotion's best tandem in the process. Edge and Christian had chemistry, cohesion, and vast experience teaming together, and The Rock and Undertaker had none of this, but they still beat the Canadians, making this one of the dumbest tag team title switches in history. E&C regained their gold just one day later, and to compound the misery, the discontent between Taker and Rock went absolutely nowhere. The Great One moved into a feud with Kurt Angle, while the American Badass reunited with Kane, and they didn't meet in a singles match until No Way Out 2002. Number 4. Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov. Be thankful for Braun Strowman, because WWE's attempts at crafting the next big monster heel have spawned dozens of duds over the years, with Vladimir Kozlov standing among the worst. The big burly Russian couldn't really do much, and he was so limited, he made the Ultimate Warrior look like Juice and Thunder Liger. Thrust towards WWE title contendership, Kozlov was a total flop, and WWE reneged on his singles push within a year. Having failed to get over as a super serious wrecking machine, Vlad was eventually turned into a comedy act, because of course, he started teaming with Santino Marella, and soon he was engaging in segments where he just had to dress up to the amusement of nobody, unless they were called Vince McMahon. They were portrayed as a couple of goofballs, but this didn't stop WWE making Marella and Kozlov tag team champions, with the duo unseating Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel in December 2010. For the next 76 days, this turned the whole tag team division into one big comedy act, before they eventually dropped the belts back to Gabriel and Slater. I do want to say this though, I love Santino Marella. Number 3. John Cena and David Otunga. Destroying a title's prestige for the sake of turning it into a lame plot device is nothing new for WWE, and while John Cena and David Otunga's one-day reign wasn't as high profile as The Rock and The Undertaker's, it still damaged the belts. Cena is WWE's biggest modern star, and holding the gold is nothing new for him, but he was forced into a very awkward partnership here, and it just didn't work in late 2010. Now working as a commentator and panelist, David Otunga never really made it between the ropes, but him and John did defeat Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre at Bragging Rights 2010, and yeah, became the champs. The move came shortly after Cena had been forced to join the Nexus against his will, and Otunga was ordered to lay down for Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater just one night later, ending the reign. This needless game of hot potato hurt the belts because they were just being passed around at will, and in the pantheon of terrible John Cena tag team title reigns, this sits at the top. Number 2. Animal and Heidenreich. WWE have never been shy of pillaging history for the sake of a quick buck. In this regard, few individual legacies have suffered more than the Legion of Dooms. From their run with Sunny as LAD 2000 to aping their power and paint gimmick with the Ascension, WWE have exploited the former Road Warriors legends countless times over the years, and this abomination stands as the worst example. Animal returned to active competition in 2005, 2 years after Hawk's passing. He was soon paired with the struggling Heidenreich, a man best known for molesting Michael Cole in a backstage bathroom, and I'm not making that up. Eventually, the duo did take Eminem's tag team titles at the 2005 Great American Bash, and Heidenreich became an official LOD member a few weeks later when Animal honoured his partner with the duo's iconic face paint and of course spiked shoulder pads. Sadly, the invitation felt more like an insult than a tribute. Nobody bought into Heidenreich as part of one of wrestling's most iconic teams, and Animal was well past his physical peak, resulting in a 93-day reign that saw many turn away in disgust. Number 1, David Otunga and Michael McGillicuddy. Curtis Axel isn't anywhere near as bad as performer as his WWE record suggests. Naturally, he's pretty good. He may have been positioned as a jobber for most of his career, and he certainly isn't on the same level as his father, but he's a solid technician who could have forged a successful career if it wasn't for a long series of creative blunders. Sadly, it looks like he'll never be able to live up to this potential, and to be honest with you, I think that really sucks. Still, competing as Michael McGillicuddy, he teamed up with David Otunga to capture the WWE Tag Team titles after defeating Kane and Big Show in May 2011. Somehow they held the belts for 3 months, with the company somehow managing to tick every single box on their bad title reign bingo card along the way. For example, the duo won the belts because of interference, and throughout all of this they were never really that over with the crowd. In short, nobody cared, and WWE gave the fans no reason to do so either, with both mustering only 3 title defenses during their run, none of which came on pay-per-view. They were treated like worthless cannon fodder throughout, dealing further damage to an already lowly set of titles, before Kofi Kingston and Evan Bourne thankfully took them off their hands. But really, they should have been treated better.
Gosh, can you believe that person said that about that particular video on that entry? I sure can't. But you should like, share and subscribe below anyway. And also, the people who made this video, they're right here. Go follow them and give them some love. Also, there's more content, probably above my head. Check it out. Or don't. 50-50.